And then I'm going to turn it over to Johanna.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Yes, like Stephanie said, my name is Johanna Schwant. Pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. I guarantee you will see my name in emails and workshops and all kinds of things throughout the academic year. So even if we don't get to work together directly, there will be opportunities for us to connect as a large group. For today, I'm going to be just doing a very kind of basic overview of Ridgewater College Bookstore, kind of some common supplies that we've seen that most students may need to be as successful as they can when they're coming to college and taking classes with Ridgewater. What I'm going to do is turn on this live transcript option. So if anybody needs that, you should be able to use that feature. And then certainly, like Stephanie said, any questions you have, put it in the chat, private message, probably private message Stephanie, just because it's tough for me to manage the presentation and the chat, or simply unmute yourself. And also just keep in mind, like Stephanie said, that this is being recorded. If you want to show your video, if you don't want to show your video, it is really up to you. If you just want to sit there and you're TikToking, but also listening to this, that is just fine as well. So for those of you that have logged in, if you're using the chat feature, you will see that I did drop a file. It is a PDF document, and that does have directions on our bookstore on how to order books. That was provided by our bookstore staff. You don't have to download it right now. You can also find it on our website. So I'll point that out later on in the presentation, but I did want to make sure you know that that document is in the chat. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And you should see a PowerPoint. Do you see that on the screen? Yes, I see a thumbs up. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to angle myself so you can hear me on the mic and I can see. What I want to emphasize is that this is really a general overview. What you may need is going to be specific to your courses. It's going to be specific to what tools you feel you should have to be the most successful. And when in doubt, our bookstore staff are phenomenal at being able to help you understand your courses and what you may need. You also all have academic advisors. And so if you're never sure where to start, just know that you have resources. So I want to start by pointing out the contact information. So take a picture of this, write it down, screenshot it. If you have a photographic memory, awesome. But what I want you to do is make sure and take down, of course, our address information. And then the website for the bookstore. Note that it is ridgewaterbookstore.com and the Ridgewater email. So bookstore@ridgewater.edu. A common question that I have gotten in the past is, well, what if I'm an online student? What do I select? And so really what you're going to want to think about is which campus you will go to pick up your supplies. And if you're not going to be doing that, you should be able to just order and pay for shipping. And I'll talk again about that later on. We used to require that you ordered based on where your program was kind of housed or home-based. We've gone through some changes now. And so you should really be able to identify whichever campus you would want your pickup to be. Our books are housed on our Wilmer campus, and so we do have to get them over to Hutchinson. But with that being said, know that you do have access to materials on both campuses. So before we dive into more specifics on how to navigate the bookstore website, what I want to talk about, and Stephanie, if you see things and have ideas too, and all of you that are on the Zoom call today, if you have things that you've heard from family, friends, educators, let us know. What do you need to be successful? What I've found is for some common supplies in college, it's important to still have your number 2 pencils. It's important to have your pens, your black ink, your red ink, your blue ink. If you like gel pens and all the colors, wonderful. Binders for each class. Trapper keepers are coming back. So anybody who is maybe younger than myself, if you don't know what a trapper keeper is, it's just this amazing big binder with a zipper and it has pockets, and it is just the best invention in my opinion. Get your binders, get your folders, highlighters, your notebooks, college ruled, your sticky notes, your book tabs. So those are like the tiny sticky notes that usually are like arrow shaped and smaller, so you can tab different pages in your book. And Post-its. I haven't looked it up myself yet, but apparently there are clear Post-its now. And so if you have to trace any type of diagrams, that would be very helpful. That might just be something I saw on TikTok. It might be factual. I don't know yet. Note cards and flashcards as you're studying. It's great to have all these apps, and there are many apps out there to help you. What I found is if you can read it and you can write it and you can see it, you're going to remember it more likely. So whether you're in auto tech or whether you're taking an English course or both, you will find value in having some of these materials as you're reviewing key terms and definitions. I do want to highlight our Ridgewater planner. I will talk about that here shortly, but we have two options. I'm blurred on my camera, but hopefully you can see them. Maybe. There we go. And I'll show you the video as well here on the slide, but planners are, in my opinion, completely a Johanna statement, but planners are essential for helping students and people in general stay organized and more likely to be successful. The next piece I want to highlight is just your calculator. Many of you have your smartphones, and that's wonderful, but depending on the class you need, you might need a basic calculator, you might need a scientific calculator. So knowing your class and knowing what's expected will be important. It's also important to know that depending on your exam, your expectations, you might not be able to use the calculator on your phone because there's certain guidelines or rules for what you can have available. And so investing in a calculator is going to be helpful depending on what class you take. Then you'll know specifically, is it a TI 89? Is it a basic 99-cent calculator? What do you need? Okay. As you think about the supplies and you look at this list, I do want to highlight that you can use your financial aid at our college bookstore to purchase up to $30 in supplies. And so if you're someone who is budgeting, paycheck to paycheck, or maybe you're not really sure if you want to go to your favorite store and buy your supplies yet, know that you can pick up all of these items actually through our college bookstore and charge against your financial aid up to $30. I believe that $30 also includes the purchase of a backpack or a book bag should you need one. So that's your max charge against if you decide to use financial aid. The next piece I want to highlight before we go into the bookstore website itself is the technology. I'm sure that's what many of you are asking about and thinking, should I invest in one? Do I need one? What's the best option? Can I type a full paper on my phone? We have had students who have done that. I do not recommend it. Yes, you can download the Microsoft Word and all of that, and it's there. But I strongly, strongly encourage you to consider your options for investing in a laptop. If you cannot afford to purchase one, know that we do have a laptop rental program. You can let our school counselors know. You can let Stephanie and I know if you're on the call right now, private message Stephanie. You can also reach out to your academic advisor, and then we can see if we can get you on that list and see what's available. Other important things that we've learned with the age of COVID and doing things more virtual is having things like your earbuds and a wireless mic. Getting a webcam, even though one's built in, sometimes having that additional one can be helpful. And then personally, I really like the wireless mouses. I know that they're not as expensive as when I was in college, and maybe they're a little bit more affordable now. Maybe not. I guess what does affordable mean to each of us, right? So these are not required, but they are very helpful. Depending on your program, you may have specifications that you need for technology. So what you see in the chart as far as the recommendations, Windows, Mac, the specifications and memory, this is a very generic, broad idea. This is from our IT department. So know that this isn't just something that I pulled off of Google. But if you're in, for example, our multimedia design program, your requirements will be different than, say, a part-time student who is maybe taking a more hands-on course and has more studio or experience-based learning than a design student who needs that memory on their computer. So if you have questions, always check with your instructors. Let's see here. And Stephanie did put her email in the chat. So if you are someone right now where you're like, I don't have a laptop, I'm not sure if I'm going to get one, let's get you on that list. Let's make sure that we have you ready to start the semester successfully. So go ahead and email Stephanie. So again, it's stephanie.holland@ridgewater.edu. And she did put her email in the chat so you can copy it. And just let her know you attended the workshop, you're interested in the laptop rental program. Okay, so before I move on, I do want to just take a quick minute and pause. If someone has any questions related to the supplies, so either the previous slide or the technology. So one of the questions I have received is, what about a tablet or an iPad? Can I do my assignments on that? Again, you might be able to navigate some things, but that's not recommended. Many times the websites you need, the ebooks, the downloadable things you'll need to do, the ability to navigate multiple screens, you just cannot do that as successfully when you're on a tablet or on an iPad. I know that technology is constantly improving and that there may be ways to make it work, but what we found, the least stressful option is to invest in that laptop. We also have computers available for you to use, but if you're someone who does not have access to our campus during our open hours, this laptop is going to be important to help you with that success. Our available computers are located in each of our campus libraries. And so you will see library or academic support center. Those two departments are housed in the same area. So I said I was going to give you my planner spiel because I am very much all about planners. I've got one for bills, I've got one for work, I've got one for the weight loss New Year's resolution that I have yet to start, but I'm going to finish that year strong. And so what I want to talk to you about are our two planners that we have. We do have our academic student planner. And so this one is great because it has your monthly and weekly views. It has important contact information. It has important get to know you dates. It's about $5 and you even get a couple of coupons in there. What I want to highlight in our planner is that there's a page to jot down all your logins that you will have. There's also information on SMART goal setting. There's a periodic table in the back of the planner. And there's important information about self-care in our warrior pantry. So if students have needs, you know who to contact right away. You have our website, you have your advisors, but this planner also has really important contact information that can be very useful to students. So I definitely recommend that you look at getting a Ridgewater planner. If you're not someone who wants the very detailed version, my favorite is the monthly version where you can just kind of do quick snippets of each month. And so in my role, I actually like to use the monthly one for some of the events I'm doing. And then I use the student planner for more of that detailed goal setting and projects that I have to do. You'll find what works for you. Again, there's apps out there, there's printables you can find, but let's figure out what's going to help you stay the most organized so that you can be successful. So what we're going to do now is we're going to transition into our bookstore website. I am going to go ahead and just continue on with the PowerPoint with some of the basic steps. And then towards the end, we will log into the website itself and we'll navigate how to search for books. So the first thing you're going to want to do, if you haven't done so yet, is go ahead and go to the Ridgewater Bookstore website. So again, www.ridgewaterbookstore.com. When you're in there, you're going to have to create an account for the first time. Even though you have an assigned Ridgewater email, you do need to set this account up. We do not recommend using your iCloud email for the fact that we do get those as bounce backs. And so if you happen to have another account, that is going to be the recommended option. Utilizing your Ridgewater email when you set it up is an option. Certainly use your iCloud if that's what you have. But just be aware if you say you might not be getting communication, it's because of that bounce back that we're having to deal with. As many things do expire, passwords will expire every 90 days. So usually I tell students to log in at least once a semester. If you're ordering through a bookstore, you will be doing that anyways as you prepare for each term. I want to highlight, and something that I want you to note, whether again you type it in your notes on your phone, jot it down, is that your student ID, also called sometimes your tech ID or student tech ID, in terms of the bookstore, could be referred to as your account number. And so just know that this is not your star ID. This is all numbers. And if you have already ordered a school ID, you will see that on the back of your ID. You can also find your student ID on your acceptance letter, and you can find it in your e-services, which is where you would have registered for classes if you've already done that. And so for your convenience, Stephanie did drop the link to the bookstore website in the chat. If you'd like, you can go ahead and click on that and then bookmark or save it into your internet browser so you have that. Once you've created an account, we will then review how to order your books and find them. Some things I'd like you to think about are what type of books you might have options to, and what do you learn best with? Certainly, we want you to think about the price. We also want to highlight, how are you learning? What works best for you? So for example, too much screen time with myself, I get the headaches, I can't do it. Does not work for me. When I'm done with my workday, I like to have an actual book in front of me, a magazine. I like to attempt to cook dinner and just not have the screen time. So getting a physical book is the best option for myself. Think about how you learn best. If your class has options, you will see items listed as a print option, a rental option, a digital option. You will see access codes listed. All this will vary depending on your course and what's required. Things I want to highlight is that print and rental are physical copies. Print is a purchase. It is not something that you have to return. Rentals are items that you do need to return, where there could be additional fees or charges. They also have to be returned in the condition that you got it. If you, like in this example, see an option that says both a digital option and a hard copy or a loose leaf option, then you might see items listed as an optional binder for the loose leaf textbook. Then you might see that you have an option where an access code is needed to be purchased. In this case, depending on which choice you select, the access code is provided. That is something to watch for when ordering books. For example, if you order a hard copy, you may still need to get an access code, but that does vary. Whereas if you get a digital book, that access code may potentially be provided. Again, that depends on your class. And so as you go through the bookstore website and you're ordering books, if you're not sure what you're reading, give us a call, give our bookstore staff a call or email. We can try and help you figure that out. We don't want you paying for materials more than once. And we want to make sure that you're picking the option that you will learn best from. So how do I search for books? Again, this is just a very, very basic description here. You have the directions in the chat, and we will go on the website shortly. In general, once we're on the website, we are going to navigate through our website until we get to the textbooks option. We'll then have to know the semester that you want to order and some key information. You're going to want to download your class schedule because we're going to need to know the department or subject. We're going to need to know the course number, and we're going to need to know the section. It's also helpful to know who your instructor is, but we do not only need the instructor information. We need all those areas to ensure that you're selecting the right class and getting the materials you need. Once we've done that, we'll view your materials and show you how to continue adding to your cart. As you find your materials, you're going to repeat all those steps for each class that you need. And then we're going to have to go through and continue the checkout process. We always want to make sure we're reviewing what you've added. continue again to checkout and look for those proceeding to payment options. So the next thing we're going to talk about, and you'll see this in your directions, is when you're in the checkout screen, is things to note. Your billing information must match the credit card. So if someone else, a parent, a partner, a friend, is paying for your materials, that billing address must match the name of the address for the person on the card. If you put your address information in, but it's a partner or parent or someone else paying, the file will error. For fall semester, there is a charge for ordering your books and having it shipped to you. We do ship through UPS, and it typically takes about 1 to 3 business days. I would recommend, if you're able to come to campus, is to order a pickup. It gives you an opportunity to get on campus and find your classes before the semester starts. It'll give you an opportunity to meet with your academic advisor in person if they're available. And also, then there's no charge. You save a little bit of money by being able to come to campus. It's also very convenient because if you happen to order the wrong book, you're already on campus and can do that return right away to ensure that you get that refunded and can order the materials you need. The other piece is, because I'm a strong believer in renting your textbooks and saving that $1 or $2 if you can, is to know that you must check the rental agreements terms or you will not be able to continue. So if you get errors, these are some common things that we've seen where students should watch for those. Okay, so how are you going to pay for your books? That's the next question. Students have options with their financial aid funds. You might have a third party, an employer, an agency, some other sort of payment where someone's helping pay. You might have funding through scholarships. You might have PSEO, which if there are any PSEO students watching this, required materials should be covered by the PSEO program. Optional materials are typically not. And so if you have questions, be sure to talk to your PSEO advisor. All students must enter a credit card. So even though you may have financial aid in place, this is something you have to do. Let's say for some reason, things change and you don't have enough funding, that credit card is your backup method of payment to secure that. I also want to highlight that if you are applying for federal financial aid and we have a FAFSA on file, that you can charge up to $1,000 towards your student account to get those required materials. This means that every student who has completed a FAFSA has the opportunity to have all your materials ready for the first week of that semester, so you can be ready and prepared for the start of classes. It does not guarantee that your FAFSA will cover everything, but it allows you that flexibility to charge, and then you can always pay off your bill should you not have enough funding. If you're entering and paying with your credit card, of course, it's things like entering all the required fields. Like I mentioned, if you're renting, you're going to have to check that term for rental agreements. Things about your credit card to note if you are renting, if you're using a credit card, etc., is to know that with credit card payments, you have to enter that twice. Is to know that the book the card that you're using needs to expire later than the semester ends. So for example, fall semester ends in December. We would expect that card to be valid at least through March. The other piece to note is that you may see additional charges if you're renting, because if there are damages, then that will be assessed when you return your books, and those fees will then be applied. Again, I want to highlight, because it is a common error that I've seen, is just ensuring that the billing address matches the address on the credit card.
So with those fees, like when we're paying for it, like if we rent the books, they'll show up, but they won't be applied until we return them.
So the fees won't even show up until your book is assessed. So you rent your books. You say, I'm paying with financial aid first. That will then apply to your bill. And if you still have a remaining balance, you'll be notified. You still owe $50 because financial aid didn't cover everything, whatever the case may be. You'll be notified, so you have time to pay that off before that final deadline, which I believe is towards the end of September, but our business office will notify you of that exact date. Now you're returning your books at the end of the term. The bookstore staff will assess your books for damages. I believe they try and notify you for the most part right away if they can, depending on what they need to assess. Then they'll again notify you of that charge so that you know and can pay that off before other fees might be applied. So there's no determined assessment that's put on your charge. It's not till you return the materials.
Okay.
Okay. And I do want to clarify there is a charge for renting, and then the fees I talked about is if there's damages, or so for example, I completely spilled coffee over a couple textbooks more than once when I was in college. Could not return those, ended up paying way more than I probably would have liked to have paid. And so those are where that assessment would come in. If you get a used book and there's pencil markings and things like that, you're not going to be charged for those things that are already in the book. That's why they review it each semester. Okay, thank you. Great question. So for students, a lot of our students are using financial aid to help pay for school. And so when you're in the bookstore account, you will see that option as a payment option. It is a drop down, so note that it defaults to credit card and you have to select that financial aid payment option. If you have questions on this, please again, let us know. Contact the bookstore, contact us in student services. We're happy to help you. When you're on this page, you'll see the information about your student ID, your account number, your student tech ID. All those terms are used interchangeably, and that is something you'll have to put into this page as well. A great feature on our bookstore website is that you can see what materials are being covered by financial aid funds. So if you're not sure if you can purchase an item, check that out or contact us directly. That is another piece where I've seen some students purchasing. So for example, I've seen students who have added things like a sweatshirt, school spirit, but that is not covered by financial aid. So then they've had a charge to their credit card that they put in addition to the financial aid usage. I know that dealing with funding, paying for school, it can kind of be stressful. So if you have questions or you're not sure what to click, or you don't want to accidentally potentially be charged for something you shouldn't, just give us a call and we can try and help you with that process and walk you through how to do this. So then as you navigate the website, you will have to finish the checkout. There is a comments box if you ever have questions and you want to put something in there for our bookstore staff to know. You'll complete submitting your payment and you should get an order confirmation. If you don't receive that, then know that something did not process and you'll want to review your steps. You do receive an immediate email from our bookstore staff letting you know that the order was placed and thanking you. If you requested a used book or rental, the lower price will be applied when the bookstore processes your order. So what that means is you might select your books all used, all rented. You might see a higher charge when you complete the order, but when it's fully processed, because we can't ensure that we have a used book for every student, then you will see that lower charge. So that is something to note as well when you're ordering books, is as much as we want to guarantee the lowest option for all our students, it's not always something that we have. So order books soon so that you have that available for you. Once your order has been processed, you do receive a second email, and then depending on what you selected, it will let you know if it's ready for pickup or if it has been shipped. So really making sure you know which email account you're using and then checking that regularly will be helpful too. A couple things about our ebooks, virtual books, electronic books, digital books, however you want to term it, is to know that some digital books are instant while others are not. Is to know that if your class has an option for a digital ebook or a textbook, is to pay attention on what you specifically need, because in most cases you do not need both. So looking into ensure, is the difference only that one is a hard copy versus a digital copy. If you do have instant access, you should receive an email within 5 minutes. And then typically what you're going to want to do for these ebooks is it's going to be activated by logging into the Bookstore account. And so give that time, make sure that you don't click activate twice because sometimes that can cause errors. And again, just let us know if you have questions. Most instant access digital books are not refundable. And so because of that add drop period within that first week of the semester for most classes, it's important to know your schedule, know your options, and really know which classes you're planning to keep for the semester so that you're not opening and using materials that you could not return later on. The digital books have a shelf life of 180 days or lifetime. So again, something you'll just have to watch for depending on the class that you have. Okay. So end of semester, you all have straight A's, you're ready to take your books back and return them to the bookstore. If you rented, then you should be able to you'll see an option and notification on when to return that and where. If you purchased, then there will be a book buyback option. So beginning of the semester, you took your classes. I mentioned maybe you need to drop a class. Maybe it was the wrong class you signed up for. So you work with your advisor, you drop it, you need to return your material now. Within the first week, what you need to do is make sure you have your receipt and then go to the bookstore, ensure that your material is returned in the condition that you received it. So what that means is that if it's shrink wrapped or plastic wrapped, it needs to be in that condition. And if it's an access code, it needs to not be peeled off and opened. Otherwise, the bookstore staff cannot return it for you. And then you'll have to wait for this buyback option that I referred to. Please note that for fall semester, books must be returned by August 26th. And our bookstore hours are 7:45 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. If you're someone who's coming from a distance and you need to return your books by mail, then we do need to receive it to the college no later than August 30th. There are some additional steps and information that you can find on our website should you need to do that. Okay, so for our tech students, our career students, our CTE students, or trade students, for students who are in programs and classes that are not your liberal arts or generals, for students who are in project-based courses like our art classes, if you have a kit, so specifically art kits, massage therapy kits, electrician kits, and second-year welding kits are available through our bookstore. If your art class is on campus, you would be required to pick that up in person. Those do not ship. If you do not see your program listed here, work with your department. If you've already registered for classes, your program advisor most likely has provided you with some information about what that tool pickup, tool order, tool process will be. If you have questions on kits and supplies, again, working with our bookstore staff or reaching out to your academic advisor before completing an order is your best option. So I briefly mentioned that we'll have a book buyback option. So what I want to encourage you with this is just to save your books, know that not everything will be purchased back, and that this is going to be your best investment if you're not renting. If you rented, you would return those and only would be charged additional fees if there were damages assessed. And I do want to highlight one more thing. Anybody that is a PSEO student should return your materials. When in doubt, if you're in the PSEO program, return your materials. The bookstore staff will let you know if there's something that you could keep and that does not need to be returned. Okay, so rental returns. Again, just keeping in mind that books are due at the end of the semester, so December 16th. They do need to be in the condition that you received them. If there are damages, you will be assessed those fees. And some general reminders, book orders can use financial aid. So that's one of the added benefits of going through our bookstore. The deadline for returns, should you need to, is Friday, August 26th. And as exciting as it is to open those textbooks and access codes, please make sure that those are courses that you plan to stay enrolled in before opening that, or they may not be returnable. I also want to highlight that our bookstore staff emphasizes using Chrome or Firefox when ordering your books through the website. Okay, so I'm going to go on to our bookstore website right now, and then I will share my screen again here. Let's see. So I believe you should all see the Ridgewater website. Perfect, awesome. So a couple different ways to access the bookstore website. You can go directly to the website, so the link that was previously provided, or you can click on the bookstore link. And then again, shop the Ridgewater College bookstore. Once you're on our page, the first thing I recommend doing is going to the My Account option. And if you're a first-time user, you're going to need to use that create an account and follow the steps that I previously mentioned. Once you do that, you can get logged in. And then, assuming we have the copy of your schedule with you, you're going to navigate to textbooks and buy textbooks. You're going to read and agree to the terms. You're going to need to change the semester to the appropriate semester you're looking for. The website will let you know if you can order or if it's inquiries only. Book orders begin, I believe, August 6th. And so I will verify that for you here shortly. So once you've selected the semester or term, you're going to look for your department or subject. So in this example, I am going to look up an art class, and then I'm going to look for my course number, section number, and match the instructor that is listed on my schedule. You'll do that for each class that you're registered for. And then add as many courses as you see. Once you've added your classes, you're going to say view your materials. Read and agree. So yep, August 6th is when orders begin. And then a couple of different reminders that you can review. Making sure that you have a picture ID with you. So student ID, driver's license, or military ID is required when picking up your materials. And then you'll proceed to add. So eventually what you're going to see are little buttons so you can add this to your cart. So in this case, here is an example where you can see that it says your gateway to art. You have a digital copy, or you have a choice of a physical copy, and it's even telling you to pick one. Do not order both. So then you'll have a choice of purchasing new or renting. And you see that you may have new and used options available. It also lists the date of return. You can get the summary and the rental agreement. Anything that is optional, so such as the binder, will be listed as that. Again, same idea, depending on the courses you have. The last class I selected is a career explorations course. And so what I want you to see with this is that you may have a class that does not require a textbook or an access code. This is something that you will want to check. If you don't see it in the bookstore website, also check your course syllabus. Your instructors will let you know how to access materials for that class if they're needed. Otherwise, all that information is sent to our bookstore staff. So this is your best resource to see what you will need and what is required versus an optional purchase. Now, because I can't order yet, I can't continue on in the process to show you what it looks like to complete an order. But I did want to highlight on our bookstore website just a few other areas for you. So the textbooks, the FAQ section, they have a couple different drop-down areas for you so you can get some common questions answered. I wanted to highlight the returns and refunds section for you to check out. The payment and delivery section if you have questions on what that is. I highly recommend all of their hoodies. They're very comfortable. Gifts, because we always want to spoil those that are helping support us in our education. And then of course, supplies. As I talked about, those Ridgewater planners are very, very helpful. If you want to learn how to use a planner and be more successful, please let me know. Stephanie agrees, hoodies, yes, we love our Ridgewater spirit, so check it out. And then again, just navigating your My Account section if you need to update emails or anything like that, ensuring that's all up to date. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. We're going to leave recording on for just a brief minute or two in case there's questions that our viewers might be able to learn from. And then we'll pause in case there's more personal questions that you would like to ask that pertain specifically to you. So I'd like to ask you if you're willing to either unmic, drop it in the chat, or private message Stephanie or myself. And really, truly, there is no such thing as a dumb question. I'm sure many of us have heard that. This is that space to ask. So in terms of books and supplies, what kind of questions do you have? Okay, so I see a question. So for PSEO students, required books are covered, but not required materials are charged to the student. That is correct. So anything that is required should be covered by PSEO, by the PSEO program. If you're taking a PSEO approved course, required materials are covered by the program, and those should be returned at the end of the semester. And so for those of you who are not sure, PSEO is a program for students who are in high school and who are eligible to take college courses. And so certainly if you're in the program, you most likely know that, but if you're not sure, let us know. Okay. So another question relating to PSEO more so is that if you have things like, say, chemistry goggles or a first aid kit or something that just wouldn't be hygienic for us to have you return, those are typically things that you would have to keep, and those may be something that you have to pay for. It's been a few years since I've worked with PSEO specifically, so that's something to check with your PSEO advisor, or again, ask the bookstore staff if you're unsure. Okay, I do want to highlight that if you have any questions at all, I know it's a lot to think about right now, and you won't know until August 6th when you start ordering your books. But reach out to us. We're available. We're Zooming, we're in person, we're on the phone. If Skype's still a thing, I'll Skype with you, whatever you feel comfortable with. There's a texting feature that I know our college uses, but please just let us know. We would very much rather you ask the question and know that you figured it out on your own than not ask it at all. Okay, so we're going to stop recording because I know sometimes questions are more specific. If you don't have personalized or specific questions, you're welcome to exit this meeting. For those that do, feel free to either ask it within the group or let Stephanie and I know, and we'll schedule a breakout room or a separate space.